Good afternoon. I'm Justin Wolf, the Chief Technology Officer at Systicon North America.
And I'm Axel Nyberg, Principal Research Scientist at Systicon Group.
Really great to be here today to talk a little bit about EVO and its use for strategic planning, scenario evaluation, analysis, and technology. So as we think about how we can use Opus EVO to optimize the size and weight and maybe even the volume restrictions associated with spare parts, it's really important, for the services, especially in shipboard operations and with pack-up kits as we think about deployed operations, because it's more than just a cost consideration. As we think about making sure that we have all of the right things with us, of course, if we spend $1 million, that might be 2 aircraft engines. But the reality is we don't have space on board the ship, perhaps, for 2 aircraft engines. We may only have space for much smaller components. The challenge has always been with the traditional model in Opus 10 is you run a solution or run a scenario and you get stuck where you have a solution for cost but it's too big or too heavy. And really excited to have this multivariate way to think about optimizing spares.
Yeah, that's no problem at all for Opus EVO. That's really what it's designed for as well. So you can optimize all the things at once, which is really nice. You don't have to do one optimization, go back, try to reiterate and optimize again. You can put in your cost constraints, your volume constraints, and your budget, and you can do one optimization, one run. That will really save you time and also get you better solutions.
One of the really interesting things with EVO that we think there's a lot of value in helping organizations plan for is thinking about the timing of tech insertion, tech refresh, and technical upgrades of the system. When you have a platform like the B-52 or the Eurofighter that are in service for decades, right? These are platforms that will evolve significantly over their lifespan. You're going to see new electronics, new capability, all kinds of new things come into these systems that are going to enable us to operate them for years in the future, right? Defense systems traditionally are used for a long time. These aren't cars and things like that we just get rid of every 2 or 3 years. What we need to do though is make sure that, of course, we want to dimension the spares for these tech refreshes, tech insertions, and tech upgrades. So we need to obviously make sure we have the right parts in the right place. But what EVO is going to help us do is think about when we should actually go do that work. And that's something we're pretty excited about.
Yeah, obviously you don't want to repair or upgrade all systems at once. So you need to have a good schedule that also looks at the operations that you're going to do and try to fit in your upgrades so you don't have as little effect on your operations as possible. And that's really what EVO can do for you.
One of the great use cases that came early in our product testing with EVO was with the F-35 program, where we were able to show that by just moving the modification schedule to insert new capability into the jet by a few days, one way or the other, still getting the same number of systems modified every year, but just very subtle changes, actually had some pretty dramatic impacts on the flying hour program and the overall probability of mission success. One interesting capability that we're excited to roll out here with EVO is support for much more tactical, not the traditional Opus type of utilization. So when we think about planning for and doing wargaming, as we think about planning for deployments, these wargaming scenarios are traditionally done with very massive simulation models where they really are trying to brute force the answer by simulating all potential outcomes. And I think some of what we've developed with EVO can be really quite useful in helping get to that understanding of a probable outcome in a traditional wargaming model in a much faster way, and perhaps even considering things that are maybe just a part of the, we just assume that logistics exists in our wargaming models, and I'm not sure that that's something that we can really count on when we're in these deployed operational scenarios in a contested environment.
Yeah, I think here we could use EVO as a much simpler way to just try to optimize the number of systems, which systems to have where, and maybe the number of resources and manpower needed for a specific mission. You might already have Opus 10 SimLogs and you're looking at a lot of different scenarios and seeing what the outcome will be. With Opus EVO, you can change that just to look at the outcome and actually improve the outcome. So you can look into the future a bit and improve it.
Yeah, as we think about optimizing some of these really complex scenarios that traditionally would be very difficult to fit into Opus 10, we can really bring something to bear here with EVO that we're really excited about. We're excited to work with all of you, our existing customers, to bring this capability to bear on some of your most complex and challenging systems. So we're really excited to bring this new capability to bear with support for wargaming scenarios, multivariate optimization, and a whole host of other capabilities that traditionally aren't part of the Opus suite. Really looking forward to working with everyone and seeing what we can do to continue the growth and technological advancements of Opus Suite. For some of you that have, I think, traditionally seen Opus 10 as maybe a little too basic or something that competed with some of the legacy tools that your organization might be using, we really think there's a great opportunity here with EVO to really enhance the traditional parts forecasting and analytics capability and bring to market, bring to bear in your organization something that's revolutionary, right? This is the next generation capability that we're excited to bring to market.
The development team is really excited to work together with you and see where we can take EVO in the future.